Wallop. At the 20, the 10, the 5, the 30. Rosalie Jack Sales was caught at the 30. Julio Humphrey.
Deliver body blow after body blow after body blow. The team just wants to absolutely beat you up.
There are threats all over the field for these Georgia Bulldogs.
You're listening to Between the Hedges with your host, Russ.
Good morning, all you Between the Hedges fans. It's Monday, and boy, do we have a great showing for you all today. Today we're going to talk about the Ole Miss game against Georgia's home team advantage and Georgia rankings. All this and more on Between the Hedges podcast. Don't go away.
Between the Hedges is brought to you by
CB Tumblers. You ever wish you could have a custom tumbler? Well, now you can. CB Tumblers can make you any custom tumbler, from a bulldog design or a tie-dye, whichever you like. Whatever you can think of, they can make it. Go to our website and under our sponsor section, click CB Tumblers and get your custom tumbler ordered today.
Welcome, all you wonderful listeners. Happy Monday. Thank you to all of you loyal listeners and to any new listeners that we may have. I want to say hello and thank you for listening to Between the Hedges podcast. While you're here, go ahead and click that follow button so you can be kept up to date on all of our episodes. And then while you're there also, go ahead and make sure you turn on the notifications. If you would like to reach out to us, there are a few options available for you. One option is to click See More on the podcast description, and you will see our email address listed in there. It is bthfpodcast@gmail.com. Also, we have a website link in there too. And if you click on that website link and scroll down to the bottom, then you will see a Send Message button. And if you click on that and you can send us a message of your thoughts on the podcast, maybe topics you would like to hear. And our last option is to call into the podcast by dialing 706-389-0770. If you want your messages to be played over the podcast, then we ask you please keep them professionally. We want to hear from you guys. You are our fans. Remember, this is a podcast by the fans for the fans. Also, we're on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube if you want to check us out there as well. Today's podcast is going to be great, guys, and we cannot wait to get it started, so let's get this thing rolling.
Between the Hedges is brought to you by
Dogs and More isn't your normal hot dog stand. Dogs and More serves gourmet hot dogs, hamburgers, and grilled cheese. Also, their floats are no joke either. They are located in Ringen, Georgia. Go to our website and under sponsors click Dogs and More. Believe me, their dogs are off the leash.
Welcome back, Between the Hedges fans. Oh my gosh, OMG, LOL. I can't even think of any other acronyms to describe the Saturday game with Ole Miss and Georgia. All I got to say is, if you didn't watch it, you need to go find the replay and pause this podcast, go watch it, and then come back, because we are going to have some serious spoiler alerts about that Saturday's game. First off, okay, the spread said that we were supposed to win by 10.5. Y'all, the win was 52-17. That's like I can't even do the math. I don't have enough fingers for that right now to tell you what the score would have been. That is amazing. I will say this. The crowd did great. We did force some false starts. According to Kirby Smart, before they went into the half, he said we can do better. But I will say this. I don't know if it was the atmosphere. Maybe, possibly, very well be, because it seemed really energetic. But, I was so excited. I told you guys on Friday that Brock Bowers was going to show up in pads. I had that feeling. And man, I was right. He showed up and he showed out, guys, and he looked good. It was also senior night as well, too, or senior day. And I know members of the 2020 signing class like Ladd McConkey and Kendall Milton, they capped their home careers with a perfect 22-0 home record, as they've never lost a game in Sanford Stadium, guys. Listen, Georgia's last home loss came back in 2019, before many key members of the program were officially Bulldogs. So the 2019 class would have probably been the last of that era. We are now looking in a dominating era, a dominating class that is going to be bringing us a very good football program. Even Georgia coach Kirby Smart said this: these seniors, they've done it the hard way. They've earned it. I've got a lot of respect. You don't realize what they sacrifice with the way that we practice. Now Georgia is on a 10-0 on the season and has set up another key test later in the season against Alabama. We got to play them in the last SEC championship game, guys. How officially cool is that? From the very first time that Coach Kirby Smart battled them back in the SEC Championship, we lost that. And we have won every one since then, and this will be the last SEC Championship game now. And we're playing the team that we came in from the beginning to play. I don't know if you want to call that poetic. I call it poetic. Now, the two sides will meet in the 2023 SEC Championship game. It's set for December the 2nd in Atlanta. Now, before we look ahead to that match, and before we talk about that one, because I do want to bring up some comments about that game, I want to hand out some final grades win over Ole Miss. First off, quarterback, A-, would you say? Beck was sharp on the night. He did finish with 306 passing yards. He never keyed in on one receiver, spreading the ball around to all of his targets. Now, he also effectively used his legs to punish an over-aggressive Ole Miss passing rush, which I was very pleased to see Beck do some running plays, especially considering that I felt like Ole Miss, his offensive team, didn't show up real well, because it seemed like all you could see was Dart running here, Dart throwing there, Dart running here, Dart throwing there. And we did talk about Dart. We did mention that Dart did have an arm and leg, and he was very explosive, which, sad to say, ended in his fashion towards the middle of the game, but we'll get that in a second here. Now, Beck did underthrow McConkey on what should have been a touchdown. Now, the Georgia quarterback also had an interception, but that pass went off the hands of Dominic Lovett. So there was two possible occasions we could have probably had more touchdowns as well, too. So it was another strong game for Beck, who continues to show why he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But now that he'll get Brock Bowers back, I'm sure we'll be seeing more of Bowers in a running back position. I will say that it was really cool to watch them use Brock as a distraction, because I did mention that too. I told you guys on Friday, I said, watch, if they pull Brock Bowers in, if they put him in that game, they're going to utilize him in a fashion where they're going to be drawing eyes to him, leaving McConkey and Lovett out there for open. And we saw that happen on at least a good 3 or 4 plays, if not more, maybe, because depending on the camera view, it's really hard to watch those plays play out because the camera angle doesn't always show you what you need to see. But from what we could tell, they definitely used Brock Bowers in a fashion that I was really shocked. He even got to take in a few tackles. He took a few reps. He got a few catches. He got a touchdown. So to me, it was just, I'm blown away. I am blown away. I'm not disappointed, but I'm blown away that he was there ready to go Saturday. I had a feeling he would be in pads. I had a feeling that he was going to show up and play some football. But I really and truly was blown away at how explosive he was and how well he played, considering that 4 weeks ago, was it 4 weeks ago now, that he was just getting his surgery done. I mean, that quickly. Bam. Just like that. So I'm like, wow. I was just blown away. Blown away. But for our running backs did a great job. It was a career night for Milton. He only needed 9 carries to post a career best of 127 rushing yards. He had 2 rushing touchdowns as well on the night. He won't forget. I guarantee you he won't forget that night. And, of course, don't forget senior running back Dejon Edwards. He also made the most of his final game in Sanford Stadium. These are 2 seniors that will never forget that night. Dejon Edwards ran for 59 yards, and he scored twice. Georgia had its best rushing game of the season, guys, averaging 8.6 yards per carry. This goes back to what I'm talking about. The Bulldogs show up, and they don't just show up after practice and show up after practice working hard for 7 days. They show up, and then they change. They formulate. They strategize. They change their plays to alter who they're playing. Guys, that takes skill. That takes serious delivery and execution of a lot of things. You can't just take a bunch of teams or a bunch of players and have them go to practice for 7 days a week, practicing certain plays, certain reps, certain layouts, and then get to a game and then think, okay, this may not work. We're going to have to switch it up a little bit, and then boom, boom, boom. It's almost like that Chinese puzzle box. You know, if anybody's ever had a Chinese puzzle box, they are terrible to open. You almost near impossible after a while. You almost want to take it on the floor and stomp on it and break it just to get it open. But the Georgia Bulldogs effectively have shown us time and time again that not only are they effective in practice rounds and effective at reps, but they are effective in the stadium. They are effective at the game. Even Andrew Paul and Roderick Robinson got qualifying play time late in the win. Georgia ran for a season best of 300 yards in the win. That is just amazing, considering that this is a team we haven't seen much of them doing that. Even when Brock Bowers was in, Even Mims being in. This is just amazing to see how they are diversified and how that nobody can truly ever really predict what the Georgia Bulldogs are going to do. At least I'm pretty close, because I did state that Bowers was going to be there. Don't believe me? Go back and listen to Friday's podcast. I said he will show up in pads. I said I'd be shocked if he played, but if they did use him, they would use him as a distraction route to get him to different various points to open up other key players. But I was blown away when I saw him catch that ball for a touchdown. I'm like, oh my gosh, they gave Brock Bowers a touchdown. Like, what? I mean, talk about maybe possibly, and not saying he would go back as the Heisman Trophy winner candidate because he's missed too many games for that, but to give him the opportunity to catch a touchdown, man, I was so excited about that. Now, from wide receivers and tight ends, guys, aside from the interception, an offensive pass interference penalty on Bowers, and a specialty penalty on Arian Smith, I think so far the group was strong on Saturday. I thought it did a really good job. McConkey led the way as he caught 4 passes for 81 yards and a touchdown. I mean, come on. He led Georgia in the receiving of 3 consecutive games, guys. McConkey is dynamite. McConkey is like in a whole different level now. I don't know if maybe some of that Brock Bowers spirit voodoo, whatever you want to call that stuff, if he taught him, if he educated him, I don't know what you want to call it, but he did something to McConkey. I mean, in addition to being his final home game, Saturday was also McConkey's birthday, guys. I didn't know that. Happy birthday or late birthday, McConkey. Congratulations, you won against Ole Miss. What are you going to do? I'm going to go to Disney World. No, I mean, come on. That's crazy. Lovett was also productive. He caught 4 passes for 74 yards or 77 yards as well. In his return to action, Bowers played 45 snaps. He caught 3 passes for 34 yards and remember the touchdown. He did all of that just 26 days removed from ankle surgery. Guys, that is I think the best so far we've seen from an ankle injury. Even Mims. I mean, this is amazing. The only words I could think of was in the article they wrote, and I cannot think of the writer's name. Oh my goodness, Connor Riley. He wrote it, and I love it the way he says it. And I'm going to take his quote: "Just another sublime performance from the star tight end." You cannot think of a word sublime. I think that just comes to my head right now. Sublime. It's awesome. It's great. I mean, I'm just blown away. It was a great game. A great game. The offensive line, they tightened up that line of scrimmage. Coach Kirby Smart talked about the line of scrimmage. We need to work on that line of scrimmage. This unit bounced back in a major way. A major way, guys. Georgia did not surrender any sacks. They moved the ball at will on Ole Miss all night. Georgia saw Marius Mims return to action on Saturday. His first playing time since the South Carolina games, by the way, guys. Xavier Truss once again started, while also getting reps at left tackle. Now, guys, after weathering some earlier season injuries, you got to realize Georgia, we are deep need of help on offensive line. In addition to being one of the top offensive lines in the country now, and now we, bam, blew it out the water. I mean, our line of scrimmage was tight. Even the defensive line. Georgia gave up some big plays early on, which is okay. I told my wife whenever it happened, I said, it's all right. It's okay. Remember, they got to get some touchdowns too, They got to get some points. According to the spread, it was just a 10.5 lead. But my goodness, the defensive showed up. Georgia gave up some big plays early, but this group really settled in over the course of the game. Nas Stackhouse's sack helped mark a change in the flow of the game. Stackhouse came back. He's like, I got this interception. I ain't about to let this top me up. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go even harder. Travel Walthour, Tyron Ingram, also had impactful performances for the Bulldogs. Now, Georgia was without Warren Brinson as he left the game with a calf injury. We did see that happen, unfortunately. But getting him back healthy will be significant for a Georgia defense line that's super deep to begin with. If we get him back, man, for the defensive or for the SEC championship game, man, we'll be tight. National championship, we're going now all the way, guys. I believe it. The Georgia Bulldogs are going to the national championship, so we are going to see a three-peat. I know this maybe it's early on to say it, but I feel it. I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my Georgia Bulldog bones. We are going to have a three-peat. I cannot explain it. I don't know. But you know what? I'll be the first to admit if I'm wrong, but I'm feeling a three-peat coming back in. The linebackers were on point. I mean, they were naturally going to be some early struggles for C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson because, again, now mind you, these are rookies, and they were replacing Jamin DeMoss Johnson. But as the two saw more of the field, man, the better they played. The more they played, the better they got. I mean, I think Allen ended up leading the team in tackles with 9 the last time I checked. And he even picked up a sack as well. I thought that was awesome. I was like, oh, my gosh, he got a sack. Small Mondon and Wilson were effective as well, too, for blitzers. Man, I mean, they just blitzed them hard. And then Jalen Walker added a tackle for a loss as an edge defender, too, which I was blown away to see that. That kid's got some feet. That kid's got some speed. Now, DeMoss Johnson won't be back anytime soon, so it will be critical for the Bulldogs to continue to get experience from this young group. But, man, they had a fire in them. Boy, did they have a fire. And then the secondary. Oh, my goodness. Come on. Javon Bullard's interception was magnificent, guys. You cannot say it any other way. Connor Riley writes it perfectly. I was reading the article the other day. I mean, come on. That was a perfect interception. And a correction of an error he made last week against Missouri. You know, he's now got interceptions back-to-back games, guys. Isn't that amazing? I don't know if anybody's ever done that from his standpoint, being at the level he's at. Then you got Lassiter. Lassiter, you know, he had another standout game. He really prevented Ole Miss from getting anything else downfield in that area. He was solid the whole time. Now, we did see Julian Humphrey leave the game with a collarbone injury, which was really sad to see that. Now, if he is planning to miss some extended time, we'll keep you guys posted on that as well, too, because we really rely on him heavily for that, but we'll keep you posted on him as well, too, and Dalen Everett as well, because Dalen Everett's going to pick up speed, going to pick up that momentum. Special teams. Man, I'll tell you what, from the aforementioned Smith penalty, Drew, and earlier from Smart, because I know he was really upset about that. It negated a strong punt return from Akui Muse, and he was so mad when I saw that. Boy, poor Muse, he did so good, and then for it to come back, yeah, Smart was not too happy about that. But Peyton Woodring, he made his lone field goal attempt, you know, while Brett Thorson punted only once. By the way, I said once. Now, the reason why this is, you know, a good team, and the reason why there are factors to look into it, good and bad. You know, Georgia did flub a chance to score before halftime, which I know Smart probably gave him an earful over that, but it's okay. I mean, the thing is I really would have liked to have seen us get a touchdown before half, but I didn't feel like that really affected us. I really wasn't going into the half thinking, oh my gosh, that play just ruined the game for us. I think it was an error that they probably made, and they're going to learn from it. And I know Smart, you know, he did elect not to use a timeout prior to a third down, guys. He could have thrown that timeout and gave us more time. But, you know, I think at that point he realized, let's just get into the locker room and let's look at this situation, and let's educate and let's recuperate and let's come back in the second half. But the next play, Georgia was rushed in trying to set up a shot at the end zone, and that's when the interception happened. I think they rushed it, and that's where they should have taken their time, called a timeout, really felt the field. But, you know, as great as a play that was intended to be, and it wasn't, I'm sure that Smart has, you know, he has been really strong on clock management this season, and that was just an error on his part. Maybe he just wasn't thinking about it. Maybe he did think about it and say, you know what, I'm not going to call a timeout right now. Let's just go into the half. But overall, guys, I mean, the defensive gave up an opening drive score for the fourth straight game. Something Smart knows he has to work on that. That is an area that Smart knows he has to fix that area. But Georgia's offensive did whatever it wanted to on Saturday as far as I'm concerned. You know, the Bulldogs fed off the crowd all night long. That energy was strong. The lights were perfect. Everything was great. There's really nothing else more than to say that Georgia's performance on that was the best to this date. This was the best game we played all year. I will say that right now. And I really thought that the game we played the best at was against the Gators, in my opinion, as far as the energy goes and the performance of the team. But this right here, this is a game I will remember for a very long time. I mean, Ole Miss entered the game as a top 10 team, you know, and they looked extremely mediocre. But the plays that Georgia did had a lot to do with that. It wasn't the fact that Ole Miss was a terrible team. Ole Miss was a great team. But because Georgia Bulldogs brought something to the game that Ole Miss just, they couldn't anticipate. They could not anticipate. Now, there was a lot of flags on Ole Miss that I felt like they really hurt themselves. There were a lot of plays there. I saw Kiffin get pretty upset because he would see a good play come to action and then a flag would be thrown and then get pulled back. You know, those are the areas that I think we early on Bulldog fans can agree that we saw those very moments as well in the past. We would see great plays, and then someone would do something silly, and then bam, it'd get pulled all the way back. So overall, guys, I am quite pleased with Saturday's game. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but hey, call in 706-389-0770. Give us some comments. I mean, I'm still on a high cloud nine right now, man. I mean, I just was so excited. I don't know if you guys were watching us on TikTok, but I was on TikTok with my wife and I. We were having a great, football game / party, and then we were also, remembering to honor the veterans for Saturday as well too, which I thought that the stadium did a really good job of that too with the commercials, and then of course the post-game pre-show, and and the reward for Rick with his Hall of Fame. And it was a good game. It really was. If you guys didn't watch it, you need to go watch the replay. Even if you know who wins, I still would watch the replay again, because it was a really good game to watch, and it was a good game to see an adversity come to us and us take it head on and blow it out the water. So, but we're so excited about it. We're going to go ahead and get ready to move on to our next segment here very soon. So don't forget to stay tuned with us as we come back to discuss the AP polls and where we are and what we have to look forward to in the next coming weeks. And don't forget, we go up against Alabama in the SEC Championship, which will be our last SEC Championship game. It's so sad to say that. I've been watching these games since 1992 when they first aired and they first got distributed, and now we are looking at our last one. It's almost like a child graduating high school or college and getting ready to move out into the world. You're like, I'm so sad that all these good memories are over with, but it's okay. I don't think it'll be the last. I know we're supposed to be moving to the next segment. I got to hurry because of my time. But I don't think it'll be our last time seeing the SEC Championship game. I think they're going to try to come up with something different. Just give them some time, guys. Give them some time, and we might see the SEC Championship game come back. There's too much money involved in it for it to go away forever. I just don't see it. But who knows? I may be wrong. And if I am, I'll be the first to admit it. So, but I'm out of time on this first segment, guys, so we'll be back. Don't go away.
Between the Hedges is brought to you by
Dog Swap. If you love custom frames, then you are going to love their designs. Dog Swap has all sorts of custom frames, from Sports Illustrated to photos and more. Go to our website and under our sponsors section, click Dog Swap and get your one-of-a-kind custom sports frame ordered today.
Welcome back, Between the Hedges fans. I'll tell you, the AP polls, man, top 25 rankings for Week 12. Georgia Bulldogs are set for a top 25 matchup against Tennessee this coming weekend. But to kind of cover last weekend, I mean, another week, another big win, another number one ranking, by the way. Come on. AP polls top 25 rankings. That's the story for Georgia. It bullied Ole Miss, which is what Connor Riley wrote in his article. That we bullied Ole Miss. I'm not a huge fan of being a bully, but I mean, you cannot look at that game and not think for once that the Bulldogs said to themselves, you want to give us a 10.5 spread against Ole Miss? Okay, fine. We'll show you what a 10.5 spread looks like, and then bam, come out with a 52-17 win. Come on. That was. I still feel like if they could have had another time to get another touchdown in, that they would have done it if they could have. I guarantee he's probably thinking, I guarantee his smart might have even said at the end of the game, do y'all realize if we'd have got that touchdown before the half, before that interception, we'd have been 60-17 against them, or 59-17. Well, I guess if he had done a 2-point conversion, he could have done 60, but I guarantee you there was a comment or two made, man, if we just got one more touchdown against them. Now, the Bulldogs are now 10-0 on the season again, guys. They have spent every week ranked as the number one team in the AP poll. I will say this, too, by the way, now. This is our third season going undefeated. I think that, to me, is just it's mind-blowing to even wrap your head around that, to think about that. 10-0 in our third season. This is the same for the coaches poll, where Georgia was also ranked number one for week 12. Excuse me. So behind Georgia sits Michigan at number 2, Ohio State at number 3, Florida State at number 4, and Washington at number 5. Now, all teams ranked in the top 8 won this Saturday, which that's a clear line between the top contenders in the sport. I think that's going to be the teams we need to watch going into the college football playoffs. Now, the Bulldogs certainly do look like a team capable of winning another national championship. I do believe that, guys. I cannot say it enough. I think we are going to see a three-peat. And if we don't see a three-peat, it's still going to come down to being a very tight game. Whether it's in the playoff or whether it's a national championship game, the Bulldogs are going to fight to the last effort. To that last piece of bone is not off. They will fight. They're not going to give this up quickly. And I think we've seen the tenacity that's behind the Bulldog team, that they are not in it to just win a game. They are in it to win it for the year. They've come too far to just throw it away, and I don't think that's what's going to happen. Now, Georgia does sit behind Michigan, or sit ahead of Michigan as number 2. So Michigan got moved up a little bit. Well, not moved up. Ohio State is number 3 and Florida number 4, with Washington number 5. Now, the Bulldogs won their 27th consecutive game. Georgia was even mentioned as well, and I have to do some digging on this because I don't know if we've played them all by now, but maybe we have since Coach Kirby Smart has been the head coach. But it said that we have now officially, Coach Kirby Smart has officially beaten every SEC team as a head coach, which I think it's based on the timeline. I mean, it is possible. I didn't exactly research this. This was something I saw on Facebook, which I thought was pretty impressive to see that he has beaten all of the teams now as a head coach. I think Ole Miss was the last team left up on that ante, which Kiffin did mention that they haven't played them since he's been coaching in 3 years. So it very well could be possible. That might be a fact that we could also add into that, a record-breaking thing as well too now. Georgia, though, will test how well we can do this week, again, because we were going to be going on the road. And they did rank Tennessee 21, which I thought they were very generous with that, giving Tennessee the 21, considering that they coming off of a loss of 36-7 against Mizzou, which that also clinched us for the SEC championship game, if you guys were watching that too. So Georgia did beat Mizzou 30-21. Now, going into Tennessee, I'm going to mention this really quick. I know this is not a topic of our segment, but I'm just going to say it. We'll talk more about it this week. Tennessee Stadium has always been an enigma to us because I think, to me, it's not one of the loudest in the SEC division. I think Florida's got that still beat, but it is top 5 at least of one of the loudest stadiums. So if the Tennessee fans are hyped up after the loss against Mizzou, and they really truly don't want to lose against Georgia, and they want to be, at this point right now, anybody that we go up against is thinking in their mind, and I guarantee it's talked in the locker room, is who's going to take the undefeated belt away from the Bulldogs. That's the topic of any college football team locker room talk. I guarantee it. I mean, we may not be able to get the recordings, but I guarantee you, whoever we go up against, their thing is this: we may not have had a good season this year, but if we take away Georgia Bulldogs' undefeated belt, we'll be heroes of the season. So Tennessee could very well be coming into this looking at it like, yeah, we lost to Mizzou. Yeah, we didn't do too well against this. We didn't do too well against this team. But we got to beat the Bulldogs, because if we beat the Bulldogs, we've redeemed ourselves for the whole season. So that attitude, that mindset coming into the game, I'm not going to write off Tennessee right yet. They do have a lot of injured players, which you think that's the reason why you could probably have imagined why they didn't do so well against Mizzou this past weekend. But with Georgia having to go into all that, with certainly being a hostile environment against the Volunteer Vols, the Bulldogs know they're going to need to bring their best effort on the road. Again, we're going to have to play another good game. I believe Coach Kirby Smart was even quoted saying, our goal this week was to win the now. From Monday to today, it was the win now. We weren't worried about what happened. The past does not talk to the future. The past doesn't talk to the present, and the present doesn't talk to the future or past. They don't talk. They don't text. They don't send each other messages. All we wanted to do was win the present, and each play that happened in the game, we wanted to win the next. Thought the guys did a great job of handling that message all week. I can guarantee you that's the same attitude Coach Kirby Smart's going to have this week. I don't want to place bets. I don't do bets. I don't do gambling, but I can almost place a non-existent gambling bet that Coach Kirby Smart will be telling his boys that same information this week as well, too. It's the next game, the next man up, the next game, the next man up. Now, the Bulldog star tight end Brock Bowers returned to action on Saturday, man. I've already talked about it in our last segment. He did a phenomenal job coming back. I mean, we're talking like not even 4 games ago, the dude just sustained an injury. That's amazing. He made a remarkable recovery. Whatever surgery they did a great job. The only thing I can even fathom was that maybe the ankle injury was not as severe as Mims, because Mims has been out since South Carolina. But again, awesome show of action. He caught 3 passes for 34 yards and a touchdown, like I mentioned. You know, getting him back should only further help power a potent Georgia offense. Now got McConkey and we got Bowers. Even the commentators said to see those two on the field has not happened all season. And it was just amazing to watch Bowers and McConkey go at it like a tag team effort. Beck, he had open eyes everywhere. If they were following after Bowers, he had McConkey. If they were going after McConkey, he had Bowers. He had Lovett. He had some. I mean, it was amazing at how many open plays Beck had because of the tenacity of Bowers and McConkey leaving them the open line. Now, defensively, Georgia is 6th in the country and 1st in the SEC in points allowed per game at 15.6. Now, Saturday's game against Tennessee is set up for a 3:30 p.m. on CBS. The next college football playoff rankings will come out Tuesday night. I don't think we're going to get moved up. I'm just being honest with you guys. I still think we're going to be number 2. I know what you're thinking. Come on, what do we have to prove to be number 1? Ohio State, they did a pretty good job at dominating their team, and I can't remember the name of the team they're playing right off the top of my head right now, and I apologize, I don't have that name on my head. But they came out with a pretty drastic win, although I feel like to me that considering the team they were playing, I don't think that should even really be a factor. I mean, if you consider the fact that they say, and I quote, well, we don't determine past games and past seasons to sway our decisions. But yet you see an Ohio State team playing a team they played and defeating them the way they did. They'll be like, well, they did dominate them. Yeah, they did, but look at who they were playing. And I know I can't think of the name right now, but the name of the team they were playing, in my opinion, I don't think they deserve to be number 1 on the college football playoffs. I think they should be number 2 or 3 at least. We played a very good game. I mean, even editors and articles are writing, we bullied Ole Miss. I still feel like to me that we should move up to number 1. But maybe I'm biased because I'm a Bulldog fan, but y'all tell me what y'all think. I mean, I feel like to me that we've shown them enough that we are a dominating team. We can play, we can win. Let's get number 1. I know Kirby Smart doesn't care, and I know I probably should have that same mentality. But I want number 1. I'm a very competitive person. I love to be competitive. I love to see the teams get rewarded for hard work. And honestly, to come back and say, oh, well, we still think you guys are number 2. Yeah, we're going to put you on number 2. I don't feel like that is appropriate. I don't feel like that's right. I feel like we should be number 1. We've done enough. What more do we have to do? Do we need to win the national championship to be number 1? If that's the case, then we'll do that. Anyway, so if you guys have not seen the poll rankings as of right now, I'm going to go through them fairly quickly in case you guys haven't missed it. But we got Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Ohio State 3, Florida State. I still feel like we're going to see them in the national championships. You guys watch. People keep saying it's going to probably be Michigan, but I'm sorry. I have this weird feeling that it's going to be Florida State. We're going to beat Michigan, and Ohio State's going to beat Florida. Or, sorry, we're going to beat Ohio State because they had us ranked 2 and Ohio was 1. But I think Florida's going to come out for the win. We're going to beat whoever we go, and we're going to have a rematch of Florida State and Georgia, which I think we had one back in 1980-something. Maybe it was a little bit sooner than that, but I think that was the last time we met them. I'll have to look into that and see. But you got 5 Washington, 6 Oregon, 7 Texas, 8 Alabama, 9 Louisville, 10 Oregon State, 11 Missouri, 12 Penn State, 13 Ole Miss, which I still think Ole Miss should have been a little bit lower than that because they were 8, but it is what it is. Oklahoma 14, 15 LSU, 16 Utah, 17 Tulane, 18 James Madison, 19 Arizona, 20 Notre Dame, 21 Tennessee. They're still in it, guys. They haven't fallen off yet, even after that loss. 22 North Carolina, 23 Kansas State, 24 Oklahoma State, and 25 Liberty. And folks, that is your top 25 according to the AP polls. I'm pretty sure coach polls are going to be very similar. I've not had a chance to look at them yet. But guys, come on. We won another game. 10-0. We got it, guys. We're doing great. We're doing great, and I cannot wait to see them play Tennessee this weekend. But we're going to have more about that as the week goes on before Saturday comes out. So we're going to be back right after this.
Between the Hedges is brought to you by
Sarah, the wax boss for Scentsy. You have a hair lady, nail lady, and maybe a massage lady. But do you have a wax lady? They are more than just warmers and wax cubes. Their products range from inside the home to inside your car, as well as your pets. Go to our website and under the sponsors section, click Sarah, the wax boss for Scentsy, and get your Scentsy ordered today.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the episode of Between the Hedges. Be sure to share these episodes with your friends and family. Also, if you haven't had a chance to follow our podcast yet, then go ahead and click that follow button. Also, don't forget to turn on the notifications so you are kept up to date with all the latest news from Between the Hedges. If you want to reach out to us, you can do so by going to the website. The link is in the podcast description below. When you click on it, you can go down to the bottom of the website and click Send Us a Message. Also, you can call us at 706-389-0770. Leave us a message, and if it is professionally enough, then we will play it on the podcast. Well, I hope you all have a great day, and we will see you all tomorrow on Between the Hedges. Go Dogs!